Hey everyone. Today I'm going to share a story that might change the way you think about money, decisions, and the small habits that quietly shape your future. So if you've ever felt like you're doing okay financially but still unsure where things are headed, this story is for you. Ethan Cole had always believed he was careful with money. He paid his bills on time, avoided unnecessary debt, and even managed to save a little each month. By most standards, he was doing fine. And for a long time, that feeling of being fine was enough. But fine has a weakness. It doesn't protect you when something unexpected happens. One ordinary Tuesday morning, Ethan sat in his small apartment in Columbus, Ohio, sipping coffee and scrolling through his banking app before work. It was a habit, nothing unusual, just a quick check to make sure everything looked normal. But that morning, nothing was normal. His savings account, which had around $12,400, now showed just $312.17. For a moment, he froze. Then he refreshed the app, logged out, logged back in. The number didn't change. His chest tightened as he opened the transaction history. Multiple withdrawals, different ATMs, all within hours. Someone had drained his account overnight. He immediately called the bank, pacing across the room, trying to stay calm while his mind raced. The representative explained it was likely fraud and assured him they would investigate. It could take up to 10 business days. 10 days felt like forever. Rent was due in 5 days. His car payment would be deducted in 3. Suddenly, everything he thought was stable felt uncertain. That day, Ethan couldn't focus at work. Numbers, emails, deadlines, they all blurred together. For the first time in years, he felt financially exposed. That night, sitting alone in his apartment, he did something different. Instead of panicking endlessly, he opened his laptop and decided to look at his finances in detail, not casually, not the way he used to, but seriously. He wrote down his income, then every fixed expense, rent, car payment, insurance, utilities. Then he listed everything else: food, gas, subscriptions, small purchases. When he finished, the truth was clear. He wasn't as careful as he thought. It wasn't one big mistake, it was dozens of small, unnoticed habits. Daily takeout, subscriptions he barely used, impulse spending that felt harmless in the moment but added up over time. Individually, they didn't matter much. Together, they mattered a lot. The next morning, Ethan made a quiet decision. He couldn't speed up the bank's investigation, but he could change how he handled his money. He canceled subscriptions before breakfast. He packed lunch instead of buying it. He called his landlord and explained the situation. It wasn't easy, but he was honest. The landlord gave him an extra week to pay rent. That small relief gave him breathing room. Over the next several days, Ethan became intentional. Every dollar had a role. Every expense had a reason. If it didn't serve a purpose, it didn't stay. By the time the bank refunded his money 8 days later, something inside him had changed. He felt relief, of course, but more than that, he felt aware. For the first time, he truly understood that saving money wasn't just about putting away what was left at the end of the month. It was about deciding in advance where his money should go. He didn't go back to his old habits. Instead, he opened another savings account, separate from his main one. This one had a different purpose. It wasn't for emergencies, it was for growth. He started small, transferring just $50 a week automatically. Then he started learning. Not quick tips or random advice, but real financial knowledge. He read about investing, listened to podcasts during his commute, and slowly began to understand how money could work for him instead of just passing through his hands. He learned about compound interest and how time quietly multiplies consistent effort. He learned about index funds and how steady investing often beats trying to predict the market. He learned that debt isn't always bad, but it always demands respect. Months later, he made his first investment. It wasn't huge, just $1,000 into a broad market fund. When he clicked buy, he felt nervous, but also confident in a way he had never felt before. It wasn't a guess, it was a decision backed by understanding. Time passed, and Ethan stayed consistent. He didn't chase trends. He didn't panic when the market dropped. He didn't celebrate too early when it rose. He just stayed disciplined. A year later, everything looked different. He had built an emergency fund covering 6 months of expenses. His investments had grown steadily, not dramatically, but reliably. But the biggest change wasn't the numbers, it was how he felt. Calm, in control, prepared. One evening, sitting at the same table where he once panicked over his empty account, Ethan reviewed his finances again. This time, there was no fear, just clarity. He realized that the moment he thought he lost everything was actually the moment he gained awareness. Years later, he shared this story with a younger coworker who was struggling with debt and confusion about money. The coworker asked him what the secret was, expecting some complicated strategy. Ethan smiled and said, "There is no secret, just small decisions repeated consistently over time." Because financial stability isn't built in one big moment, it's built in hundreds of small ones. And if there's one thing this story proves, it's that sometimes the worst financial setback can become the foundation of your strongest financial future. If you enjoyed this story and want more stories like this that can change the way you think about money and life, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay ready for the next video.